deep within the emerald labyrinth of the Central American jungle. Stone giants rise where no logic says they should exist. Their faces are carved with celestial maps, their walls fitted so tightly not even a blade of grass slips through. There are no rivers nearby, no metal tools, no wheels, no pack animals to haul these impossibly heavy stones. And yet an entire civilization sculpted cities into the earth, as if the jungle itself obeyed their will. This isn't myth. This isn't science fiction. This is the legacy of the ancient Maya. At a time when iron was reshaping empires across the globe, the Maya built towering pyramids, grand observatories, and vast causeways using nothing more than sharpened stone, human endurance, and an almost divine understanding of nature. Their achievements shouldn't be possible, yet the proof is there, hidden beneath centuries of vines, waiting for the modern world to notice. So how did they do it? How do you build a civilization without the very tools history claims are essential? The answer lies in a combination of limestone, starlight, sweat, and something far more powerful than metal: belief. This is the story of how the Maya built cities without metal, and why those cities still speak to us in stone. The jungle doesn't welcome cities. It swallows them. Heat presses like a wet hand against the skin. Insects scream from every crevice, and the soil itself conspires against permanence, churning, cracking, erasing. Yet this was the world the Maya chose to conquer. Stretching from the Yucatan Peninsula to the highlands of Guatemala and Belize, their civilization took root in a land that offered no easy fate. There were no major rivers like the Nile or the Tigris to nourish their fields or carry stone by boat. The rainforest canopy blocked the sun, the vines strangled structures, and the frequent downpours vanished almost as quickly as they came, absorbed by the thirsty ground. This was a place that devoured effort, and yet, here amid jaguars, howler monkeys, and dense green chaos, the Maya carved out cities like Tikal, Calakmul, and Copan. They didn't just clear the forest, they shaped it, stacking towering temples above the trees, leveling plazas, and channeling water where nature gave them none. To do so required more than muscle. It demanded an intimate understanding of the land, the seasons, and the sky. Every root, every hill, every cave had a role in the architecture of survival. Where modern minds might see an impossible environment, the Maya saw a canvas, and they painted it in stone. Their cities weren't imposed on the jungle, they were fused with it, grown from its logic like living monuments. In a land designed to erase memory, the Maya created structures meant to outlive generations. The question isn't just how they built here, it's how they dared to believe they could. Metal is often seen as the cornerstone of civilization: bronze for blades, iron for plows, steel for scaffolds. But the Maya had none of it. They knew of metals like gold and copper, but treated them as symbols, not tools. Their cities rose without nails, without hammers, without iron chisels, and yet their stonework rivals that of empires armed with far more. To the modern mind, that seems impossible. But the Maya didn't need metal. They had something sharper: obsidian. Habea, forged in volcanic fire and sharper than surgical steel. Obsidian gave them a blade so fine it could carve bone, cut cloth, and etch intricate glyphs into limestone. Alongside it, they wielded flint for durability, granite pounders for brute shaping, and hardwood tools to refine and finish. These tools didn't gleam like iron, but they worked. More importantly, the people who wielded them understood every fracture, every grain, every weakness in the stone. They didn't fight against nature, they read it like scripture. Instead of forcing materials into submission, the Maya listened, and with their bare hands and minds, they shaped cities that still stand after 1,000 years of storms and silence. Their story isn't one of missing tools, it's one of mastering limits. In a world obsessed with what it doesn't have, the Maya remind us of what can be done with what we do. In the absence of metal, Maya builders turned their ingenuity into an art form, crafting a toolkit not of might, but of mastery. At the heart of their labor was flint and obsidian, each flake painstakingly knapped to razor-thin precision. These were not crude implements, but precision instruments, capable of slicing through limestone like butter when handled by the trained hands of a stonemason. Chert hammers, polished to balance weight and force, chipped away at massive stone blocks with the rhythm of a heartbeat. Sand and water became their grinding agents, and hardwood tools hardened over fire served as mallets, polishers, and braces. With no beasts of burden, it was human backs that bore the weight. Logs acted as rollers. Ropes of twisted vines became harnesses. And yet, the Maya didn't simply move stone, they persuaded it. They coaxed it from the earth, shaped it with reverence, and placed it with geometric perfection. Their tools were not just physical. They were cognitive mathematics, astronomy, ritual. Every temple rose not just from labor, but from alignment with time and space. Their planning tools were calendars. Their blueprints were the stars. To build without metal demanded more than substitutes. It required an entire philosophy. And so, each blow of a chert chisel wasn't just construction, it was communion. They weren't merely building cities. They were crafting a cosmos in stone, using tools that modern minds would overlook, but in the hands of the Maya, became divine instruments of civilization. Limestone was the soul of the Maya city. It wasn't just abundant, it was obedient. Found across the lowlands in vast quarries, limestone could be softened with water when freshly cut, allowing artisans to carve it with incredible precision using even the simplest stone tools. But once dried and exposed to sun and air, it hardened into a durable, weather-resistant shell, capable of standing for centuries. The Maya didn't merely use it, they understood its chemistry. They crushed it to powder, burned it in lime kilns fueled by wood, and mixed it with water to create stucco, a smooth plaster they painted with dazzling reds, deep blues, and sacred blacks. With it, they coated temples, molded reliefs, and preserved glyphs like sealed memories. Their palaces gleamed white in the jungle sun. Monuments not only of scale, but of visual shock, cities that shimmered like mirages. Beyond aesthetics, limestone was central to their innovation in construction. They layered blocks with precision and filled cores with rubble and lime mortar, creating walls that were light, strong, and easy to repair. And when needed, they carved entire altars, staircases, and royal masks from a single piece, each telling a story in lines of stone. The Maya didn't need bronze or brick. Their limestone was both material and metaphor, pliable yet enduring, simple yet sacred. They didn't just build with it. They built from it entire worlds, entire belief systems, entire generations encoded in rock. It wasn't just stone. It was memory made permanent. To raise a Maya city was to summon an army not of soldiers, but of hands. Tens of thousands of workers labored under the jungle sun, their skins slick with sweat, their shoulders bruised from the weight of limestone blocks. These weren't slaves in chains, but commoners fulfilling a sacred duty, construction as cosmic debt, owed to gods and kings alike. Every stone lifted, every plaza leveled, every pyramid raised was an act of devotion wrapped in discipline. Work was divided with military precision. Some quarried rock, others ferried it along forest paths, while skilled artisans carved glyphs and deities into facades that would stare down the centuries. Overseers shouted cadence, while elite architects, often trained nobles or priest engineers, directed the blueprint from ceremonial platforms, guided by calendars and constellations. Fires blazed in lime kilns night and day, feeding the stucco that sealed these sacred monuments. The noise of hammers, the scrape of stone, and the drumbeat of ceremony filled the air. Construction wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Every temple was aligned with stars, every step measured by prophecy, every courtyard designed for ritual echo. And in the evenings, when the fires dimmed and the jungle reclaimed its silence, the city took shape layer by layer, stone by stone, belief by belief. These weren't just settlements, they were acts of collective will, carved from hardship and held together by myth. The Maya didn't simply endure their harsh environment, they rose above it, not with machines, but with memory, sweat, and a vision so large it could only be written in stone. The Maya didn't just build cities, they orchestrated them, aligning their very bones with the breath of the cosmos. Every pyramid, plaza, and pathway pulsed with celestial logic. Temples faced the rising sun on solstices. Doorways caught the light of equinoxes like giant sundials carved in stone. From atop towering structures, priests watched Venus rise and fall, its cycle marking war, sacrifice, and rebirth. The architecture was not only functional, it was astronomical. Geometry and spirituality fused in every design. The number of steps on the Temple of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, 365, one for each day of the solar year. Sacred ratios governed staircases and terraces, encoding the movements of stars into civic design. City centers became living calendars, their alignments synchronizing human ritual with heavenly rhythm. This wasn't accidental, it was mastery without metal, engineering without electricity. The Maya charted the sky with naked eyes and coded its secrets into stone. They saw time as cyclical, not linear, and their cities mirrored that belief. Buildings were not built once, but layered like rings of time, older temples buried inside newer ones, each generation adding to the cosmic clock. To walk through a Maya city was to move through layers of time, space, and myth all at once. In a world with no telescopes or compasses, they turned their cities into observatories and their rituals into timekeeping. They didn't just look up at the stars, they built for them. And in doing so, they made their cities eternal, bound not just to the earth, but to the sky. Where there were no rivers, the Maya invented their own veins of survival. In a rainforest that devoured water as quickly as it fell, the Maya learned to trap the sky. Their cities, some holding tens of thousands of people, thrived without flowing water nearby, thanks to an invisible network of reservoirs, canals, and catchment systems more complex than many modern towns. Rainfall wasn't just weather, it was currency. They carved massive underground cisterns called chultans, lined with lime plaster to prevent seepage, and funneled runoff from rooftops, plazas, and courtyards through intricately sloped channels. These weren't desperate measures, they were pre-planned hydrological systems built with vision. In cities like Tikal, great artificial reservoirs spanned acres, their bottoms coated in clay and sealed with science. Some even show signs of filtration, layers of sand, crushed zeolite, and charcoal ancient water purification, born from observation and need. And above the ground, the Maya created Sakbiab white roads raised from crushed limestone that connected cities, temples, and trade hubs. These weren't just roads, they were arteries of movement and power, gleaming in the moonlight like paths to the gods. By controlling both where water flowed and where people walked, the Maya shaped their world from the bottom up, with no rivers to guide them. They wrote their own map, one that flowed not with water, but with wisdom. In a land where nature offered no gifts, they engineered abundance, and in doing so, they proved that civilization doesn't wait for the land to be kind, it teaches the land to listen. To the Maya, a city was never just stone and shelter, it was alive. Every plaza beat like a heart. Every temple whispered the voice of ancestors. The very layout of their urban spaces mirrored the human body in the cosmic order, binding the physical and spiritual into a single, breathing entity. Temples were heads, commanding vision and speech. Plazas were lungs, open spaces for breath and gathering. Ball courts symbolized limbs, where conflict and balance played out. Even staircases held meaning, each step a rung on the ladder between earth and sky. Nothing was arbitrary. Cities were built not just for survival, but for the soul. Every angle, every corridor, every shadow was part of a larger choreography of movement, ritual, and memory. The city itself became a staged ceremonial routes guiding citizens through myth, through memory, through meaning. The elite lived close to the sacred core, while farmers and craftsmen radiated outward, forming a living gradient of class, role, and ritual proximity. But it was not division, it was harmony, carefully maintained through architecture. The city taught you who you were. It shaped behavior, elevated ceremony, and made everyday life a constant dialogue with the divine. To walk through a Maya city was to move through a text written in stone, a narrative of gods, rulers, ancestors, and seasons. Even silence had structure. In their cities, the Maya built not just structures, but systems of thought, belief, and identity. Their cities weren't static. They breathed, they pulsed, they remembered. And in that memory, they made their world eternal. Tikal rises like a phantom from the jungle floor, its temples piercing the canopy, its plazas carved into the earth like sacred scars. For over 1,000 years, this stone titan stood as the beating heart of the Maya world, home to kings, astronomer priests, warriors, and laborers bound by ritual and stone. With no cranes, no wheels, and no metal chisels, the Maya erected Temple 4 over 230 feet tall, one of the tallest structures in the ancient Americas. Each stone block, some weighing several tons, was quarried nearby, dragged by hand, and stacked with supernatural precision. But Tikal was more than vertical grandeur. Its genius lay in invisible systems, vast reservoirs, carefully calibrated for wet and dry seasons, engineered slopes that guided stormwater away from foundations, sunken gardens that doubled as drainage in agriculture. Every component of Tikal was functional and symbolic. The temples aligned with solstices, the twin pyramid complexes echoed mythic dualities, and the Great Plaza served as a theater of power, where kings ascended to divine status before the eyes of their people. Inscriptions speak of rulers named Sky Jaguar and Stormy Claw, who oversaw alliances, wars, and cosmic rituals. From here, Tikal's influence radiated across the Maya world, connected by white roads that shimmered in moonlight. Even its silence today feels alive. Trees have crept over its stones, but the city remains defiant, watchful, ancient. Tikal wasn't just built, it was conjured, raised from limestone and vision, proof that with belief and design, even the impossible can stand tall for 1,000 years. Copan was the Maya's library in stone, its staircases not just steps, but pages etched with the breath of kings. Nestled in the lush valleys of modern-day Honduras, Copan didn't rise as high as Tikal, but it dug deeper into the psyche of the Maya mind. Here, artisans carved history into permanence over 2,000 glyphs, spiraling up the famous hieroglyphic stairway, the longest known text in the Maya world. Each glyph was chiseled by hand, each line a record of bloodlines, battles, and cosmic cycles. This wasn't decoration, it was preservation. Copan's rulers, especially the renowned 18 Rabbit, saw themselves not just as kings, but as authors of time. They erected towering stele stone monuments sculpted with impossible finesse, portraying themselves in divine regalia, clutching serpents, wearing headdresses as tall as men. The city became a theater of identity, each carving a broadcast of power, each plaza a stage of celestial performance. And though Copan thrived for centuries, its brilliance wasn't just in beauty, it was in memory. The carvings weren't passive, they were active agents, retelling stories during ceremonies, reinforcing legitimacy, and guiding future generations. Even today, archaeologists read these stones like sacred scripture, decoding the rise and fall of dynasties lost to time. And all of it, every curve, every glyph, every echo was made without metal, using nothing but stone tools, genius, and a refusal to forget. Copan stands not just as a city, but as a testimony that history, when carved with purpose, can outlast even the voice that spoke it. But every monument has its shadow, and behind the glory of Maya cities loomed the weight of their creation. These wonders were not built without cost. The same hands that raised temples bled beneath their weight. Commoners labored under the command of priest kings, devoting years of their lives to haul limestone, burn forests for lime, and tend to the elite's needs, often with little reward beyond spiritual debt. Entire hillsides were stripped bare for resources. Forests were razed to fuel kilns that baked plaster and mortar, accelerating soil erosion and weakening the land they depended on. The beauty of stuccoed facades came at the price of ecological strain. Class divisions hardened into stone, as clearly marked as the borders of royal compounds. While nobles studied the stars and planned divine rituals, farmers battled famine when drought struck or the soils failed. Sacrifice, human and environmental, became the invisible scaffolding of civilization. For all their harmony with the cosmos, the Maya cities leaned on a fragile equilibrium, one that demanded more than the land could always give. And yet, none of this was hidden from the people. It was embedded into their mythology, creation born of sacrifice, cities standing on the shoulders of gods and men alike. The grandeur of Maya architecture was a reflection of belief, but also burden. The cost of their brilliance wasn't just paid in stone. It was paid in sweat, in hunger, in silence. Behind every triumph, a toll. Behind every temple, a question. How long can greatness balance on the edge of exhaustion? The Maya collapse wasn't a single fall, but a slow unraveling, a quiet cracking of a system stretched too far. There were no enemy armies at the gates, no smoking ruins from war. Instead, the cities dimmed like stars fading at dawn. One by one, the great centers emptied. Stone plazas grew silent. Temples no longer echoed with ceremony. It began subtly. Droughts that once came and went began to stay longer. The great reservoirs, masterpieces of engineering, ran dry. Crops failed. Forests, once cleared to fuel the lime kilns and fires of growth, were gone, leaving eroded land behind. And with the environment weakened, the spiritual order fractured. The Maya didn't separate nature from belief the land was divine. So when the rains vanished, when hunger grew, it wasn't just a crisis of food. It was a crisis of faith. Rulers lost their mandate from the gods. The temples no longer spoke truth. Uprisings likely flared. Elites abandoned their glyph-carved homes, and the people scattered, some to the mountains, others to new lowland settlements. The great stone cities were not destroyed, they were left behind, as if too heavy to carry into a new era. And still, many Maya communities survived, adapting, enduring, resisting the idea of extinction. But the age of grand stone cities, aligned to the cosmos and raised without metal, passed into memory. And over time, the jungle returned not as an enemy, but as a veil, reclaiming what had once defied it. The collapse was not a loud ending. It was the quiet fading of a world that had pushed brilliance to the brink. Even now, centuries after the last ritual fires dimmed, the cities remain half consumed by jungle, but never fully silenced. Walk through the ruins of Uxmal, Palenque, or Yaxchilan, and the stones still speak. Whispers echo off towering staircases. Glyphs stare from faded walls. The voices of kings, priests, and builders are etched into every crevice, waiting for someone to read them again. Some temples still align with solstices, casting shadows like knives across their ancient altars. Clap your hands at the base of El Castillo in Chichen Itza, and the sound bounces back in the chirp of the sacred Quetzal bird. A deliberate acoustic illusion engineered without wires, without code, without machines. It is architecture as music, stone as memory. Even in ruin, these cities teach. They show us how humans once shaped the world not with steel or steam, but with thought, with time, and with unshakable devotion. Archaeologists uncover more each year. Pigment in the stucco, star charts carved into walls, filtration systems in ancient cisterns. Every discovery peels back another layer of brilliance, another reason to marvel. And yet, for all we found, the greatest secrets still lie hidden beneath vines, beneath centuries, beneath the assumption that we've already understood. Because the Maya didn't just build with stone, they encoded belief, identity, and cosmos into every block. And in doing so, they ensured that even when their voices fell silent, their cities would continue the conversation. A civilization that carved echoes into limestone, waiting for someone to listen. The Maya didn't need metal to change the world. They had vision. They had patience. They had an intimate relationship with land, sky, and time. A knowledge so complete, it could transform jungle into geometry and rainfall into life. While other civilizations forged empires with swords and iron, the Maya sculpted eternity with obsidian, limestone, and belief. They proved that greatness isn't born from what you have, but from how deeply you understand what surrounds you. Their cities were not accidents of history, they were declarations of intent. That with enough will, coordination, and reverence, stone could become story, ritual could become architecture, and absence could become innovation. Today, we look at their ruins and call them lost. But the truth is, they were never really gone. Their descendants still walk among us. Their language still whispered in homes across Mesoamerica. Their knowledge still guides modern engineers, archaeologists, and astronomers. And their cities silent, massive, enduring still breathe beneath the jungle canopy. In a world chasing newer, faster, stronger, the Maya remind us of something deeper, that mastery isn't in the tools, but in the mind that wields them. No iron, no steel, just stone, sweat, and the stars. And with that, they built a civilization that refuses to be forgotten.